All right, so let's talk about the next stage of a commercial or a mid-market sales process. Now, if you're tuning into this video with no context to the previous video, then essentially this is what you walked into. I'm doing a series which is titled the Mid-Market or Commercial Rep Readiness for Tech Sales. Highly relevant for anyone that is stepping out of a SMB into a fully fledged commercial role. Or anyone that is potentially an SDR that is starting to kind of get themselves prepared for that next jump, right? Also, if you are a commercial rep already and you're drowning, which by the way, sales enablement in most tech companies is fucking terrible, because I have a lot of people that I've worked with, but then also, people that I've mentored that have just been in organizations with jack squat sales enablement. Like it's shocking how little training they provide, not on product, but on actual sales acumen and practical techniques, tactics, and procedures that work in the real world, right? So that's what I want to try to help you with today. Today, we are going into the second component of the sales process. And if you're looking at this and going, what the hell is this? There is a previous video that I did in part of the series, and my team would have included the playlist link in the description below. So open that on a separate tab. Don't click off this, watch this, and then go binge watch the entire series that I have for commercial rep readiness. And if you like it, drop some good stuff in the comments and tell me how much you love me and the content I'm making. So I'll keep making more for you. But this one is going into this stage, right? So the execution of the demo, which is part of a broader set of stages and a very, very important stage within the broader sales process. So let me pull up a quick slide over here. No, that's still the discovery stuff. There we go, demo. So just to recap, there is some stuff that you need to do before the demo happens. And like I said over here, do not go rogue, stick to the process. Please, if you couldn't tell already, I love my process. I think that salespeople need to be operating with more process. That doesn't mean you don't have creativity. That doesn't mean you don't go off the process from time to time to maybe add in an extra stage or tweak a stage. It means that you know that roughly you're following something that is guaranteed to let you succeed, right? So this is one of the biggest lessons that I learned very early in my sales process. Very early in my sales journey is if I follow a process, I win more times than not, right? You'd be amazed at how easily you can win deals when you just have a tight sales process and you execute it to a T. So on that topic, what do you do straight after a discovery prior to the demo? Because the demo effectively starts straight after the discovery, which means that you have a number of things that you have to do immediately after to make sure that you've set yourself up effectively for the demo. So number one, send the follow-up. I spoke about this in the previous video. Use transcription tools. If you're not using Otter AI, if you're not using Read AI, if you're not using whatever native transcription tool that you have, you are slowing yourself down. Follow-ups should be super quick. All you do, pull the transcription, punch it into your whatever whatever generative AI model you're using, and ask it to generate you a summary of the call with the key pain points, the items discussed, any anecdotes, and how your solution aligns. That will generate it for you. Add any white papers, add any decks that you want to add to that, flick it off to the prospect, make sure that they have that immediately, right? It shows proactivity, it shows that you're on the ball, super critical. The next thing that I talk about is prepare the 3 whys for the demo. So if you're, again, haven't watched the previous video, highly recommend you upload or you load that up on a separate window and you have that ready to go watch the entire series, but definitely watch the previous video on discoveries. I talk about how you use the 3 whys. Here is an example of the 3 whys that I used when I was at Zscaler for a customer I was selling to. The 3 whys answers 3 questions. Why anything, which is the pain? Why Zscaler or why you? Why does your solution, like this stuff here, is your solution that aligns to the pain points, right? So you can either go solution alignment or you can go solution alignment and technology outcomes. I honestly just say solution alignment. So just talk about what solution aligns to the pain point and Actually, it is probably going to be useful as well. Add in a little part around technology outcomes and just type that up quickly. So what outcomes are you going to help the customer achieve with those solutions? And the why now is your urgency, which again, if you're wondering how you establish that, that happens in the discovery. And I go into depth on how you get urgency on the discovery. Remember, if you don't have urgency, then you are manufacturing urgency, and manufactured urgency later in the sales cycle is why deals don't close, right? I've heard this time and time again from people that I've sold with, as well as people that I've mentored. They literally say, dude, like my prospects just say that my solution isn't really critical, and they don't know why they need to do something right now. Like, that is an indication to me that you haven't asked the right questions in discovery, and that's either because you didn't want to, which makes you lazy, or you didn't know how to, which makes you, God, I feel kind of mean saying this. No, I won't say it. I was going to say, no, never mind. If you don't know how to do it, go watch my videos, right? I won't roast you too hard. I've been there before as well. This is also what happens when I have too many coffees. I start getting a little mean and a bit mouthy on my videos. So I will try to be nice to anyone that is watching. Go watch my previous video to understand how you establish urgency. Anyways, take the information from the transcript, punch that into GPT or punch that into whatever your generative AI model is. Ask it to tell you what pain points the customer has mentioned. Also ask it to tell you what is the urgency or the timelines around why they need to do this deal and by when. Take that, punch that into the template so you know why anything, aka pain, and why now, aka urgency, and then fill this out, right? This is based off your solution. You should know your solution well. You should be able to look at the pain points and go, yep, based off this pain point, it would be this solution. Based off this pain point, it would be this solution. Based off this pain point, it would be this solution. Based off this pain point, it would be this solution. And these would be all the technology outcomes that we would solve for them, right? Do the first draft, because I'll tell you why this is important. When you brief your engineer prior to the demo, by the way, if you don't have a briefing call with your engineer to prep your engineer for the demo, then that is not cool, okay? You do not want to be throwing your engineers into a demo with like no context and no prep, okay? Not a good way to operate. That is how you piss your engineers off. And that is how you make enemies of your engineers, okay? So you want your engineer and yourself to be like this. I have almost always had a good relationship with most of my engineers. You do get your characters from time to time. And there is often that friction between the sales engineer and sales, at some point in your career, but it shouldn't be all the time, right? Like at least 75% of the time you should get on well with your engineer, okay? So brief your engineer, do a prep call, lock in some time with them. It's just 15 minutes. And what you do is to prepare them, you basically say, hey, Mr. Engineer, let's call him Bob, or let's call him Alice, right? Let's normalize female sales engineers, even though it's kind of hard to find them. But let's say Alice is your sales engineer. You basically say, hey, Alice, here are the pain points that the customer raised with me. Here are all the things they shared. Here are all their quotes. Here is their urgency. Here's why they said they need to do something by a certain date. And here are all their quotes. And here are the solutions I'm thinking that we can show to help them tackle this. What do you reckon? What do you reckon we should also maybe add in here? The reason you do that is because this middle column, that becomes the flow for the engineer to take them through the demo. So if you have like a multi-suite solution, like you have like when I was selling at CrowdStrike or when I was selling at Zscaler, like we had a lot of stuff that we did, and so during a 1 hour demo, we didn't have a whole bunch of time to go through like tons and tons of stuff. So I had to be focused, right? I had to focus in on what was most relevant to the pain points. That's what I showed them in terms of solutions, right? So that is basically your pre-demo standard operating procedures. Don't skip these SOPs. Don't take shortcuts. When you take shortcuts, you get exposed in the sales cycle, right? And you look like an amateur. And amateurs get killed by pros, okay? Like a professional seller, if you miss steps, a professional seller will expose you really quickly, right? Because you're always competing. And whoever's the best at building relationships, building trust, Establishing value, establishing credibility, they're the ones that are going to beat you, man. So don't let yourself be beaten, okay? Do all of that, and now let's actually get to the demo itself. Now, I do have some sample decks that I have over here, and I am going to be nice enough to let you download my sample decks. So there will be a link down below where you can get access to the sample decks. You might have your own, but I personally like these. I've tried and tested these sample decks or these layouts. It just works. So essentially, the deck that you use for your demo, it's very short, right? One slide is to establish trust and overview your company brand. So all of you will probably have some like central brand asset. Like it will probably have like, check out, this is where we are in the Magic Quadrant. This is, these are some of our top customer logos. We've been in the market for 10 years, or we've been in the market for 5 years. The idea with the brand is, it shows them that it's not just you, but you represent a good company. So you have a quick slide, you flash that up. I'll show you kind of the flow of the demo in a second and when you use these. One slide is exclusively focused on the customer. And I recommend for the demo, you actually use the 3 whys, right? So in the discovery, you would have used a value proposition. In the demo, I want you to use the 3 whys. And one slide at a high level to showcase your solution alignment. So in the 3 whys, obviously, you'll have some verbiage or some verbatim, some written stuff around your solution and how it aligns to their pain. I recommend having a quick slide that has some sort of like overall platform slide, right? So like CrowdStrike, we used to have this platform slide of just like all the things CrowdStrike did. And then I would basically point it out to the customer and say, look, on the screen, what we're going to focus on today is this, this, and this. We may look at some of the other stuff, but really, I think these are the things that are going to solve your problem. And then you just pause, and it's a good opportunity to also ask them, hey, is there anything else that's jumping out at you? Is there anything else that you'd like to see? Because this is an opportunity for them to kind of, like tech people, right? Tech people, IT people especially, they're like kids in a candy store. Like when they start seeing tech, they're like, ooh, this is cool. Like that's cool. I could use that. I could use this. So it's also a good slide to kind of flash up your broader capability and gets them excited about all the other stuff you could do, right? So those are your 3 slides that you use in a demo. Like I said, I literally have like a sample deck here for you. So just download the asset below and happy hunting. So how do you kick off a demo? Well, the best way to kick off a demo, because a demo is just like any other call or meeting, is with an upfront contract, okay? So again, for anyone that is cold onto this video and you're going, like, what is an upfront contract? An upfront contract is essentially a social contract that you establish at the start of the call, of any meeting, that lets them know that if things don't go positively, that's okay. If there is no value, that's okay. We don't have to continue discussions further. But if things do go well, can we leave some time at the end to look at next steps? What that basically does, and I'll deliver an upfront contract to you for a demo so you can understand how it sounds in a second. But why you use an upfront contract is it basically lets them know that, hey, there's no pressure here. Right? Like if you want to, we can engage. If you don't see value, we don't have to. Like we're here to work together, or we're here to just part ways if there's no value. And so when you do that, guys, it reduces the pressure on the prospect, and prospects love it when a salesperson isn't trying to be pushy, right? What you want to do is create a bit of space, create a bit of distance, and let them lean in, right? Funnily enough, the same thing works in the dating world if you're a guy, right? And if you're a girl, right? Like anything you chase runs up into a tree, right? If you give it space and you show value and you demonstrate capability, guess what? People are going to want to lean in, right? It's a much better strategy. There is definitely a time to push, but it is not now, because this stage of the sales process, you're still establishing value. You got to be careful about pushing at this stage, right? That's how you piss people off. So here's how you would do a upfront contract for a demo. I would literally say something exactly like this. I'd say, guys, thanks for the time. Look, I just want to let you know, myself and my engineer, we run tons of these demonstrations every week, every month. Sometimes we might get midway through or towards the end, and our solution may not be the right fit in your eyes, and that's totally fine. I just want you to know that that's okay. I'm not going to try to force you to keep engaging or try to push anything down your throat. Alternatively, we may get to the end, and this might be exactly how you envision your problem being solved, and you might be genuinely curious to understand what some next steps could be. And if that's the case, I'll let you guide me, but could we please keep about 5 to 10 minutes at the end just to flesh out what some next steps could be? Are either of those outcomes okay with you, regardless of how we go? Pause, out of roleplay mode. That is how you deliver an upfront contract for a demo. Now, for any of you that want to get that again, maybe pull up your recording app on your phone or pull up a transcription app and just take all my words down and then just kind of rework it. But really what you're trying to do is you're opening off with a negative outcome first. Negative first, because it lets them know you can leave if you want to. Always start negative first, finish positive. Okay, you don't want to go positive first, finish negative. You want to do it the other way around. Okay, that also gets your prospect, outside of just being comfortable, gets them on the yes train early, right? Gets them saying, yeah, okay, I'm fine with that, right? Get them saying yes. Okay, so open off with the upfront contract. Kick off the demo by presenting the 3 whys. I did say the revised VP, but for the sake of this call, don't worry about it, right? So I'm just going to tell you, use the 3 whys, especially if you're in commercial or mid-market. I think the 3 whys is actually the best asset to use on a demo stage because it kind of captures the key elements, right? And it aligns it to your solution. Use that as an opportunity to recap the pain. So present it and just say, so what I would do is I'd present this and I'd say, hey, so these are all the challenges you raised, right? How does that sound? Is there anything you'd add to this? Is there anything you would change? The good thing about using this approach as well, guys, is if there's new faces on the call, they understand why we're on this call. They understand what problems are we trying to solve, right? So that is a good way to kind of start that conversation. And it's a good way to also brief anyone that is new on the call. The next thing you want to do is let them know, look, in terms of what we're going to talk to you about today, these are all the solutions that we have in mind that directly link to these problems. So here are the solutions and here are the technology outcomes we believe we can help you achieve. How does that sound for you? Is there any feedback you have there before we show you some of this stuff later? And is there anything you would add to this? Is there anything else you want to see, right? Again, it's an opportunity to do a bit of light discovery, okay? Then you flash up the why now and you say, guys, just to also replay this back to you, our understanding is these are some of the drivers for why we're having this conversation, right? Our understanding of why you want to do anything at this stage in time. How does that sound, right? Are we both aligned there? Is there anything that you would tweak here in terms of your timeframes, your timelines, your drivers? Get them to share anything here, right? So again, what you're doing is you're revalidating everything, constantly revalidating and replaying. This is how you build value. Now, at this stage, what we want to do, so you've presented the 3 whys, you've replayed all of that to them, you've gotten their feedback. What you want to do is quickly pivot to, let me just pull up the sample decks. Once you've validated the 3 whys, then you want to quickly pivot to this brand overview. Just let them know, look, just at a high level, this is who we are. For any new faces on the screen, this is essentially the brand story. You just want to take a couple of minutes on this. Then you want to quickly flick over to the capability overview slide and just let them know this is the platform. Today, we're going to talk to you about this area, and this area, as per the previous slide where I showed you, the 3 whys. And so you want to quickly highlight exactly where you're going to be focusing the demo. Now, once you show them this slide, then you pivot into the demo, right? So hand off to your engineer and let your engineer start the flow of the demo. Now, when this is happening, it is so important that the account executive is attentive to everything the prospect shares, okay? You want to make sure that you are not just hands off, chilling out, not making an active effort to listen to what's happening, understand what's happening, lean into any questions they ask. Like if you see them asking certain questions, like double down on that, right? Check in with them. Hey, pause your engineer and just say, hey, you seem to look curious about that area. I'm curious, how are you currently addressing that challenge at the moment? How are you currently tackling that process at the moment, right? It's so important that you're proactive about this, right? You're not just kind of hands off. If you're doing this virtually, you do not want to be that account executive that turns off their camera and you're just in the background like doing the dishes or something, right? Like you want to be the account executive that is engaged, paying attention. Like when I was doing demos at CrowdStrike or Zscaler, if they were virtual, I was watching everyone's screens. I was watching all of their videos, trying to understand who's paying attention, who's not, like who's leaning into certain parts. Like that's what I'm doing, right? And if it's in person, you're really engaged. You're checking in. You're like, hey, does that part make sense? Is that part how you envisioned, your problem to be solved, right? This is how you engage with them, right? Like this is how you stay present in a demo. And it's so important you do this. Now, once the demo is completed, gauge their feedback and then get into the next steps. Now, regarding next steps, what happens once you finish the demo and what do you close out with? Well, firstly, you want to gauge their feedback. So just ask them point blank, look, was that useful? What were your thoughts at a high level? I know you probably need some time to process, but what were your thoughts at a high level on that demo? At a high level, is that kind of meeting the mark in terms of your expectation of how you envision your problems to be solved? Get their thoughts, get their feedback, and then let them know this. Say, look, what I'd love to do is I'll send you a recording of that demo and I'll give you a bit of a summary in an email as well. Take some time, yourself and the team, to discuss internally, have a little bit of a feedback and a debrief. And how about maybe 2 or 3 days from now, how about we catch up for a quick 30-minute feedback meeting? And what I can do on that meeting as well, because now I have a good understanding of roughly what is going to be useful for you. I'd love to also on that next meeting just transparently share some indicative numbers, share some additional details that might help you figure out if it's worthwhile and viable for us to progress discussions. How does that sound? Time out, get out of roleplay mode. What I'm doing there is I'm essentially setting up the post-demo feedback meeting, right? So if you remember, in the commercial or the mid-market sales process, the post-demo feedback meeting, that's really where we are establishing project viability. That's really where we're starting to understand, is this a legit project? Can we progress this forward, right? Can we do something here? What does that something look like? So it's really important that after the demo, gauge their feedback at a high level, and then smoothly set up that next meeting. And that's really where the meat and potatoes of the deal viability happens, right? Like that's really where we get into the weeds of, can we do this? When do we do this? Confirming urgency, reconfirming pain, figuring out executive approvals, testing process, budget viability. This is really where all of this stuff happens. And it's an incredibly powerful call. And again, when I was selling, I was slow and methodical in these 3 stages. Actually, in these 4 stages. Like I didn't skip any of these. I was like methodical, calculated, built the value, asked all the hard questions. By the time my deals got to this stage, the POV execution, it was like a foregone conclusion. I'm like, yep, this one's in the bag, right? And like 80%, 85% of the time it was in the bag, right? So it's so important that you follow these steps. Anyways, if that was useful, I will see you on the next video where we go into this post-demo feedback meeting, AKA the deal viability meeting. If you have any additional questions, drop it in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. If you need further help, there's a schedule a call link below. My team should have that in there. Hop on, let's have a chat. Download the assets. Hope that was useful. I'll see you on the next one.